What's going on, guys? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and this is actually a surprise video. I didn't plan on making this, but as you may have already seen, or potentially depending on what the release schedule of these videos, the new limited edition box set of Dungeons & Dragons books came out. The core rulebooks, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide, and the regular version of that box set shall be coming out relatively soon. So one of the things that was also a little bit of a benefit for it was all of the updates, the errata, the things. If you're unfamiliar with errata, I guess, right? E-R-R-A-T-A, errata. That is when an update is made after the fact and is added into a published source. Now, were this a video game, right, you'd get a patch, and you would just download the patch and the game would be updated. Unfortunately, with a physical printed book, if it was a PDF, like say on the Drive-Thru RPG or something like that, people can just update the PDF and you just re-download it and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you go out and you buy a physical book like this, there's no way to make those updates other than to figure out what the updates are and reprint a new version of the book. So if you bought the Player's Handbook when Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition first came out, the version that I have, that's the limited edition version or the newest version, will actually have a degree of text changed in the book that is different from the original version. Or you can go ahead and go to the Wizards of the Coast website and download the errata, and that will get you the updates. And I want to talk to you about this one because there's actually some really cool things that were updated. A little bit of a benefit for Paladins. I'm not going to say Rangers better, but Beastmaster Ranger got a little bit of a buff, and a pretty substantial one in a large, in a big way. And this is, I feel like this is definitely warranted because they killed Revised Ranger, and then a couple of other small updates. So that's enough of me just bullshitting you here. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So if we go to the website, you can go to, here it is, it came out today, the 16th, under Sage Advice, errata, November 2018. I'll put a link to this in the description if you want to pick it up yourself, and you can see that it says it right here. These changes also appear in the core book gift sets released this month, and the changes will appear in all future printings. So, let us, our updates reflect the continuing effort to keep the foundation solid, blah, 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 blah. So, they've done a great thing, and again, like I said, if you've got an older version, take a look at this, because it'll show you all of the updates that have happened in the past. But these, thankfully, they put a nice big in red, in parentheses, new at the front to tell you what is new in this version. So here we have the Player's Handbook errata. So you can see some stuff has been changed in the past. It's like this here, it says Monk Deflect Missiles. How it doesn't have the new there, that means it was old and it's been updated since. So let's take a look. There's a lot of very generic updates, and we'll talk about those. But there's some really specific ones that I really want to talk about. So if you look at step-by-step characters, right, this is page 14 of your Player's Handbook. This is just in the process of building your characters. So it says, in the bulleted item list about ranged weapons, a weapon that has is now a melee weapon that has. So, basically it says, for attacks with melee weapons, you use your strength modifier for attack rolls and damage. A weapon that has the finesse property, such as a rapier, can use dexterity modifier instead. And here it says, for attacks with a ranged weapon, use your dexterity modifier for attacks and damage rolls. A weapon that has the thrown property, such as a hand axe, can use your strength modifier instead. It is now a melee weapon that has the thrown property, can use your strength modifier instead. So that's that change. So I'm not going to go through all of them to that extent, but you get the point. So levels beyond first, this is talking about hit points. This says add the total is now add the total minimum of 1. And we can see here's stuff for races, magical secrets. They changed all of these, so I'm not going to go over all of them, but it basically says everything is now specified to your type of spells. And what I mean by that is here it says magical secrets. In the first and third paragraph, any class is now any classes. So what it used to say for magical secrets was choose 2 spells from any class, including this one. What it means is you can take these from any class, multiple. If you read it as written, it says from any class. So that would mean, like, if I would choose 2 spells, I'd start and I'd choose a Cleric spell, then I'd have to take another Cleric spell if you read it as written. This says from any classes, so I could take a Cleric spell and a Wizard spell. I'm pretty sure everybody understood that that was how it was designed, but now it's actually in the written form to match that. And then it says spell slots. In the first sentence, your spells is now your bard spells. So what that says is page 53, and I will tell you what that says. Spell slots. It says the bard table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your spells of first level or higher. So now it says the bard table shows how many spell slots you have to cast your bard spells of first level or higher. So they just made a change en masse to all spellcasting classes to clarify that any of the spell slots listed in the table is the ones to cast your specific class's spells, to further remind you to check if you have multiple spellcasting classes, that section later on. So we'll keep going, right? We see this Cleric spells, Druid spells. For the fighter, it's your Wizard spells for Eldritch Knight. Monk, Elemental Attunement. Now, it used to say, page 81, it said, you can use your action to briefly control elemental forces nearby, causing one of the following effects of your choice. Which is actually shocking that it's made it this far, because nearby means nothing to me. I don't know what nearby is. Is nearby 100 feet? Is nearby 5 feet? Here it's clarified. They remove nearby. It's now within 30 feet of you. So the ability to control the elements as an elemental monk is now out to 30 feet. Thanks for the clarification. Paladin, this is a big one. And something that myself and other people have been kind of complaining about for a long time, us Paladin fans, but it was further cemented with the release of the Hexblade. So the way it is written for Divine Smite is basically the way the Divine Smite ability works for Paladin is use a spell slot of first level, and you basically deal 1d8 radiant damage plus 1d8 per level of spell. So a first level spell is 1d8 plus 1, 2d8. For a second level spell, it's 1d8 plus 2, 3d8. A fourth level or a third level spell is plus 3, so 4d8. And a fourth level spell is plus 4, so a grand total of 5d8 damage. What it says in the book here is the extra damage is 2d8 for a first level spell slot, plus 1d8 for a spell level higher than first, to a maximum of 5d8. That means that if you were a paladin and you had access to 5th level slots, using a 5th level or higher if you multi-class spell slot for smiting does nothing for you. 5th or higher is basically the same as using a 4th level spell slot. And obviously the damage increases if it's undead or fiend. Here, it now says, the sentence has been appended to say, the last sentence to Paladin spell slot has been changed to spell slot. So that's important because it used to say, where is it? Divine Smite. When you hit a creature with melee weapon attack, you can expend 1 spell slot to... Oh, okay, that was already changed. It used to say you can expend 1 Paladin spell slot, and they changed that because it allows for you to multi-class and use other slots to fix that. But the maximum has been increased to 68. So now if you multi-class Paladin or you get all the way to 5th level Paladin spells and you choose to smite, you can now max out at 68 damage plus the additional for Fiend or Undead. And the reason I brought this up about Hexblade Warlock is the way the Eldritch Smiting feature of a Hexblade Warlock is basically the same thing. Theirs caps out at 68, but the Paladins were stuck at 5d8. Makes sense to make this update. That's a big benefit to Paladins, I'd say. As someone who multi-classed a Paladin and Bard, I had a whole bunch more spell slots than I could actually cast, so they were just there for smiting. Now they have more use. And improved Divine Smite, they deleted the last sentence, which said, if you also use your Divine Smite with an attack, you add this extra damage to the damage of your Divine Smite. It was unnecessary and redundant, so they crutched that out. Now, Rangers. You know me. You know my feelings on the Ranger in the Player's Handbook. I think it's garbage. I think Revised Ranger was the right way to go, and I think it was dumb that they canceled it for whatever their reasons were. I also feel like I'm not alone in that, and I know I'm not alone in that. But let's take a look at what they changed, as this may be beneficial, right? So Ranger's Companion. They added to the end of the first paragraph, which was already there in the version that I have here. Like any creature, it can spend hit dice during a short rest to regain hit points. Again, if you go back to the OG version of the Player's Handbook, that wasn't a thing. So technically, your Ranger Companion, unless your DM allowed it, which I feel most did, could not regain hit points on a short rest. A new third paragraph has been inserted that says, it used to say if you're incapacitated or absent, the beast acts on its own, focusing on protecting you or itself. The beast never requires your command to use its reaction, such as when making an opportunity attack. That is still there, because I have that in my version. In the second sentence of the second paragraph, the phrase that begins, though it doesn't take, has been deleted. It was, the beast obeys your command as best it can. It takes its turn on your initiative, and then it used to say, though it doesn't take an action unless you command it to. So now, with that removed, it is, it takes its turn on your initiative, unless you command it to. Right? That's what that says? A phrase that begins with, the phrase that though it hasn't been taken, though it doesn't take an action unless you command it to has been removed. It takes its turn on your initiative, period. In the third sentence of the second paragraph, dodge has been deleted. After that sentence, the second one is added. If you don't issue a command, the beast takes the dodge action. So in the third paragraph, the third sentence of the second paragraph is, you can use your action to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, dodge, or help action. And now it just says, if you don't issue a command, it takes the dodge action, which is reasonable. And this is the big one, guys. And I know I probably trumped it up a little bit at the start, but it now says, under exceptional training, which in the version I have right here, says, on any turns when you don't, when you beast companion doesn't attack, you can use a bonus action to command it to take the dash, disengage, dodge, or help action on its turn. Dodge has been removed, so now it is when your beast companion doesn't attack, you can use a bonus action to command it to dash, disengage, or hide. But the big one, in addition, the beast's attack now count as magical for the purposes of overcoming damage resistance and immunity to non-magical damage. That is freaking huge. Again, as it stands, I would never play a Beast Ranger in the Player's Handbook version of the game. It's just not for me. But the amount of creatures that have resistance to non-magical damage, or even later levels immunity to non-magical damage, is staggering. So the fact that you would put your whole class, like your whole function of your class is this Beastmaster piece, and your companion becomes not viable, that's big. So that's awesome. More about spell slots. Your spells turn to your wizard spells. Advantage, disadvantage in the first sentence of the fourth paragraph. Both instances of reroll have been changed to reroll or replace. That's not that big of a deal. Under the creature size, in the space section, if 5 large creatures has been changed to 4 large creatures. Grappling is if you succeed in the second paragraph, second sentence, you automatically succeed if the target is incapacitated. I feel like that makes sense, but technically it had to be spelled out. Same thing with shoving a creature. Combining magic effects in the first paragraph, the following sentence has been added to the first paragraph, or the most recent effect applies if the castings are equally potent and their durations overlap. Acid Splash is from 1 creature to 1 creature you can see, and 2 creatures to 2 creatures you can see, so no flinging an acid splash without looking. Call Lightning in the first paragraph, 100 feet is now within range, and the second paragraph, within range, is now under the cloud. Color Spray was one, because I thought that spell was pretty pointless as I read it. Let's see if that got any better. So, Color Spray is 1 round. And now it says, in the second paragraph, it says, starting with the creature that has the lowest current hit points, each creature affected by the spell is blinded until the spell ends. Subtract each creature's hit points from the total. The creature's hit points must be equal to or less to blah, blah, blah. So it says, until the spell ends. The spell's duration is listed as 1 round. So that means that you do it on your round, and that means it lasts till the start of, to your next round. So it basically would be only beneficial for people other than you. For you to blind someone and then to help your allies. That's been now changed to until the spell ends is now until the end of your next turn. So you're blinding them on your turn, and you still have your next turn to do something to them while they're still blinded. So that's big. That's a big change. All right. Contagion. If you know anything about Contagion, Contagion is a spell with a lot of contestment because there's a lot of the things the way you're written. So let's read this. The last sentence of the first paragraph reads, on a hit, the target is poisoned. Here it says, was the first paragraph, last sentence, it says, on a hit, you afflict the creature with a disease of your choice from any of the ones described below. It now says, on a hit, the target is poisoned. The second paragraph now reads, at the end of each of the poisoned target's turn, the target must make a Constitution saving throw. If the target succeeds on 3 of these saves, it is no longer poisoned and the spell ends. If the target fails 3 of these saves, the target is no longer poisoned, but chooses... if the target fails, the target is no longer poisoned, but choose one of the diseases below. The target is subjected to the chosen disease for the spell's duration. So, in one way, one, that clarifies a lot of the issues, but 2, that's big because it makes them poisoned as per the condition, which means that it does something right out the gate. If you first move, you hit somebody with it, it does something, and then it can get progressively worse if they fail. And for a reminder, poisoned creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. So that's awesome, but it doesn't do you any favors against creatures that have immunity to the poison condition. So there you go. Disintegrate has been changed. Second sentence, the target is disintegrated if the damage leaves it with 0 hit points. This was something that was probably changed to, like, how does it interact with a moon druid, right? Or any druid that's in animal form. They get reduced to 0 hit points in that form, and then they would be disintegrated. And now that's changed because they weren't left with 0 hit points, they still had hit points. Just like if a half-orc's kind of orcish fury or whatever the thing is called, where you go down something endurance, you go down to 0 hit points, and then instead of 0 you go to 1. The spell did not leave you with 0 hit points, it left you with 1, so you don't disintegrate. Find Steed has a little bit of a clarification. The next to last paragraph, communicate with it, is now communicate with each other. While your steed is within 1 mile of you, you can communicate with each other telepathically. Okay? Hero's Feast, in the first paragraph, 12 other creatures is now 12 creatures, not meaning you get that bonus of being the 13th. Levitate is 1 creature or 1 loose object, so it can't be something someone's holding, wearing, or is tied to them. Sanctuary, if the warded creature makes an attack, casts a spell that affects an enemy, or deals damage to another creature, this spell ends. Previously, Sanctuary said, sorry guys for me flipping through this, I didn't think these were going to be as impactful as they were, but they seem to be more and more as we go through. This is, the final sentence read, if the warded creature makes an attack roll or casts a spell that affects an enemy creature, the spell ends. This is, cast a spell that affects an enemy creature or deals damage to another creature, any creature. The spell ends. Simulacrum, the following text is added to the final sentence, except that it is a construct. That's not a big a deal. Sleet Storm, if a creature starts its turn in the spell's area and is concentrating on the spell, the creature must make, so that means just make a concentration check. Slow, in the final paragraph, at the end of its turn, is now at the end of each of its turns. So let's take a look at that, because I think I know what that's about. Slow, in the final paragraph, it said, a creature affected by the spell makes another wisdom saving throw at the end of its turn. On a successful save, the effect ends for it. So technically, rules as written, they got 1 save against it after the initial, and if they failed, they were slowed for the duration. That has now been changed to be at the end of each of their turns, giving them multiple options to break free of the slow. Storm of Vengeance is additional effects is changed to different effects. True Polymorph, the spell can't affect a target that has 0 hit points. In the second sentence, the creature into an object is now the creature into a non-magical object. And in the creature into object subsection, the following text is appended to the first sentence as long as the object size is no longer than the creature's size. An unseen servant, the first sentence, shapeless force, is now a shapeless medium force, meaning the size. Exhaustion, the following sentence is appended to the last paragraph. Also being raised from the dead reduces a creature's exhaustion by 1. And then lastly, there's some updates to animals. These are also reflected in the monster manual. Black Bear has a bonus to its claws, and this is actually kind of important for those of you who have possible steeds or animal companions. So a Black Bear had a +3 to attack and for bite and claws. It's now a +4. Brown Bear was +5. It's now a +6. Under the Imp, it was damage resistance. The text now reads cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks not made with silvered weapons. It used to say cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons that aren't silvered. They just kind of reworded it to say silvered weapons. Quasant at the end of damage resistance, non-magical weapons is now non-magical attacks. That's interesting. So basically it was non-magical weapons. So if you wanted to get technical, and if it was theoretically if you punched somebody, that was okay because it wasn't a non-magical weapon. It is now non-magical attacks. Riding Horse had a +2. Wow, that's big. Riding Horse had a +2 to hit bonus. Now it's a +5. That's a big jump. And the War Horse had a +4, and it is now a +6. So that is a big jump for that. So that, guys, I think as I was going through this, I think I'm going to stop it here, and I will do this Player's Handbook Errata, which is really the big one worth focusing on. So I wanted to cut this here, and then I will come back and do a very short errata-based video on the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide, probably lumped together because there's not nearly as much there. But let me know what you guys think. This kind of came as a surprise. I thought we were just going to get whatever errata existed published in here, and they actually added a sizable amount of new things that clarify a lot of issues that a lot of people had. So I'm all for it. More of this. The only problem, again, is when you have this version is now outdated unless I print this and put it in the book to have it, or handwrite it all in. And again, the problem with that is, what if you go to somebody else's table and they don't have the errata? Or you go to the Adventures League and they don't have the errata? Then it's like, well, which version of the rules is right? The version in the book that you have in front of you because that's the correct version in your mind? Or my version because I have the newest version of the book? Or I have the errata printed to quote, and then you can get into that argument of like, but that's not what my book says. My book says this. And that's like, well, when was your book printed? It's newer, it's older. So it has its issues. But I am curious to see what you guys think. Leave your comments down below, and I'll see you for the Monster Manual / Dungeon Master Guide errata video. Hey guys, sorry about that. I realized immediately after I did the video that I missed 2 key points here. Under the feats section, they did change 2 things, and I guess I just accidentally skipped over it. So one of them I think is pretty big, the other one I think is pretty minor. But let's take a look. So they changed Dungeon Delver, right? Which used to say, the final bullet, it said, you can search for traps while traveling at a normal pace instead of only at a slow pace. What it now reads is, traveling at a fast pace doesn't impose the normal -5 penalty on your passive perception score, which is big. And the other big one is Polearm Master, which had said, when you take the attack action and attack with only a glaive, halberd, or quarterstaff, you can use a bonus action to make a melee attack with the opposite end of the weapon. It now says, oh, and then there you can make the, this attack uses the same ability as the primary attack. That's the same. But it now says both instances of quarterstaff have been changed to quarterstaff or spear, and that's huge. So now it says when you make an attack action, take the attack action to attack with a glaive, halberd, quarterstaff, or spear, you can make the bonus action butt attack. And when you are wielding a glaive, halberd, pike, quarterstaff, or spear, other creatures provoke an attack of opportunity when they enter the reach you have with that weapon. So that is very big. And I did not want to leave that out, as that basically now means Polearm Master applies to spears, which makes that very cool. So Anyway, sorry about the last minute jump cut here, but I want to make sure I covered that. I'll see you guys next time.